There is very, very little time left in the EFL Championship season, and it is still looking horrifically tough for all of the clubs at or near the top. There are only 12 matches that matter, and those are the matches in which those 4 sides can pick up points, and there is going to be a desperate scrap for the top 2, I think, until the very final match of the season. So let's do a fun little rival rundown, shall we? Let's look at all of the individual clubs that are vying for promotion, what's happening that's right for them, what's going wrong for them, and what their chances are. So I'm going to start off with the current leaders of the league. It is Ipswich Town, who are on 89 points. They have 9 points available, hence the 3 to go. 2 of the teams have 3 matches left, 2 of them have 4, but it's games in hand. I'll go with 3. 9 points left for Ipswich to get, and it's not looking ideal for them. Their last win was against Southampton, currently in 4th place, with a last-minute winner in the very Ipswichy style. And from the 9 points available since, they have picked up a grand total of 2. Now, it has to be said that they are missing some fairly big players in the form of Wes Burns, who I think was at least nominated for the EFL goal of the season or something like that, and George Hurst, who is a pretty big part of the way that the side plays, which could explain the dip in form. But at the end of the day, if you are dropping points, you're dropping points, and it doesn't matter why. I'm not entirely sure when those players are expected to be back. As far as I could see, it's meant to be towards the end of April, but it's all a little bit in the air at the moment because it's injuries. You can't say someone will be back on this specific date, because then if they're back in training a couple of days before that and it doesn't pick up, then you're going to get some problems, and you don't want to lead on a fan base. And yeah, they might be back before the end of the season. If they're not, things could be a little bit trickier for Ipswich, and they don't have a very nice run in either. They have to face Hull, and they have to face Coventry City. Both sides are fighting for their lives, to be honest, in the playoff race. So Hull are currently 6 points off the playoffs, which looks like it's a long way away, but they've got a game in hand over Norwich, who have 3 matches left. Coventry are just 2 points behind that, also have a game in hand, so they will be desperately scrapping to see whatever they can get. As long as those sides are mathematically in the fight, they will be doing whatever they can. And the same applies for their other match, which is against Huddersfield. They won't fight as hard because they're not as good, but they will still absolutely do their best to make things difficult for Ipswich when you have a side like Leicester City wanting to overtake them. They are currently sat in 2nd place, but they have 12 points available. Of all of the sides that are fighting for the title, fighting for 2nd place, this is the only team that can still hit that 100-point mark, which is very weird when you consider how incredibly well all 4 sides were doing all the way through the season until about now. They last won a match against Birmingham, 2-1, so still very, very tight, not a comfortable game in the slightest. And since then, they have lost 1-0 to both Millwall and Plymouth Argyle. Not teams you want to be losing against. They're teams towards the bottom of the table, which means that they do have something to play for. They are actively trying to fight their way out of that relegation battle. But at the same time, you look at Leicester's squad and you look at Plymouth's, and you say they should arguably have the quality to win that every single time. And that has meant that there are sort of link between the fans and the club is breaking down a little bit. So, for example, you are already seeing a lot of shouts for Maresca out, and I've seen some people say that even if they get promoted, they want to get rid of Maresca. Even if they end up in the playoffs, they want rid of Maresca, because they're in the position of they were so comfortable for so much of the season. And I think I've mentioned this stat before. In their last 8 matches, they've picked up 7 points. Leicester are a team that are reasonably easy to get at right now. And that's led to players like Patson Daka receiving a lot of stick. I've heard bits and bobs from various podcasts saying that people would rather take Patrick Bamford over Patson Daka. That was difficult, which is a metaphor for not very good striker, according to a lot of people. And their running isn't very nice either. They have to face West Brom and an in-form Southampton in their next 2 matches. Southampton have looked relatively invincible, and West Brom are a team that are very grindy, tough to break down, and will fight for every single yard of the pitch. That's not going to be a fun pair of matches for Leicester City. And then after that aren't the most fun games either. They have Preston, they have Blackburn. Both sides have taken points off the top 4 teams throughout this season so far. Blackburn have Sammy Schmodix, who is always good for a goal. Preston are just very tough, very grindy, very likely to get a little bit kicky and vicious. as they were against our current third place side, Leeds United. Currently on 87 points, there are 9 points available. They can reach the heady heights of 96, which is a bit of a jump down from the potential 100 for Leicester, but there's still potential to do it. However, they are also not on the best of form. They last won 3-1 against Hull City on the 1st of April, and that April Fool's joke seems to have had quite an impact on the club. In that time, they have lost matches against Coventry and against Blackburn. The Coventry one was the first home loss of the season so far, which, to get 22 games into the season at home and then lose, I imagine is absolutely devastating and not good for morale. And the Blackburn match won't have felt good either, because it was Blackburn at home. Never mind. That especially didn't feel good, because Leeds were very much on top of that and just didn't put chances away. There was also a draw against Hull City in that, where a lot of fans will have thought probably should have been better there as well. Performances are starting to cause a little bit of concern, with big concerns happening around players' form, players' fitness, and it all started to break down around the international break, because Leeds had a bunch of injuries. Jorginho Rutter has not been performing very well for a while, coincided with his hernia surgery. Willie Gnonto has been injured, which has kept him out of the side. He looked really good when he came back, but the question is, can he play full matches at this point? Crescencio Summerville's gone a little bit off the boil. Patrick Bamford has done the same thing, which has meant that all those attacking players not being at their best, Leeds have only scored once in their last 3 matches, which is going to be a huge concern and will require a big turn in form very fast. The remaining matches, they're not the worst. I'd say of all the run-ins, this is probably on paper the nicest. They face Middlesbrough, who are currently out of contention for the playoffs. I mean, mathematically, they've got 3 matches left, but they're 8 points off Norwich. So if Norwich get a single point or they drop a single point, it's done. They also play QPR, who are in a relegation battle. Ideally, from the point of view of a Leeds fan, if QPR manage to beat Preston in their upcoming game, that should clear things up a little bit, make the QPR match a little bit simpler. And then there's the final day of the season, at home against Southampton. And I think that will be the one to watch. That'll be the one that every single person that has a vested interest in this title race will be keeping an eye on. And on that note, we have to talk about Southampton. We thought Southampton were dead and buried and out of this title race recently. Absolutely not. They have decided, actually, we're still in the conversation. Currently in 4th place, 84 points, 12 available, a maximum points tally of 96, which is even with Leeds, but you need to consider that they will play against Leeds, so they will have to share points. Someone will have to drop there. And they are on a genuinely scary run. Since that match I mentioned earlier, where Ipswich beat Southampton with a last-minute winner, they have gotten 10 points of 12 available. That's bonkers. That's huge. That's crazy. And that does include a 3-0 demolition of Preston, who have caused all sorts of sides trouble this season. In addition to that, they're not missing too many players at the moment. The big ones are Ross Stewart and Juan Larios, who haven't had that much of an impact on the season anyway, until this is a fairly recent development. They lost Bazunu until the end of the season. Bazunu is their goalkeeper, and whilst he might not be the best shot stopper in the world, he's far from the best shot stopper in the Championship. He's really good with his feet. He can pass out from the back, and that is something that is essential to the way that Southampton play. They like building up attacks slowly. Occasionally, they'll hit really hard, really fast, but they have a very possession-based system. Losing Bazunu and replacing him with a goalkeeper that might not be as good with their feet ain't good for them. And the run-in doesn't look too fun either, because it features Cardiff as their easiest game. Cardiff are currently sat in 11th place. Their current form goes lose, win, lose, win, lose. So do with that what you will. But then after that, things get tricky. After that, they play Leicester City, currently in 2nd place at time of recording. Stoke, 20th at time of recording, who are firmly in that relegation battle, only 3 points above Huddersfield. If Huddersfield get a win before then, they're dragged back into it. And then on that final day of the season, Leeds United, who are currently sat in 3rd place. Ultimately, I think they have momentum at the right time. It's just whether they can carry that momentum through what is a potential minefield of a set of games. Cardiff should be okay, but that Leicester-Stoke-Leeds run does not look pleasant in the slightest. And I will be completely honest with you, with 3 to go, I have no idea who is going to go up. A bit of me is still optimistic as a Leeds fan. This will be seen by lots of various Championship fans, but I am still an optimist and I still think Leeds United will go up. I think we have enough in the tank. I think we can turn it around. I'm still going to stand by the idea that if any of Leicester, Ipswich, Leeds are in the playoffs, I don't think they go up, because the mental hit of being in that promotion fight for so long only to drop it at the last minute will be devastating. And I think Southampton, if they are in the playoffs, will have a very good chance of promotion. I'm going to go wildcard. I'm going to say automatic promotion. Maybe it's Southampton Leeds, because Southampton have that momentum. And it's the optimist in me coming out for Leeds. Through the playoffs, maybe a Norwich, because imagine Norwich versus Ipswich in the playoff semi-finals. Maybe a West Brom. Leicester West Brom as the other playoff semi-final would be fire. But ultimately, I can't predict it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I'm trying to get to 3,000 by the end of the season. That'd be massively appreciated. And you can even become a channel member. All of that revenue right now is going towards Prostate Cancer UK. It's a charity that means so much to me, and it'd be great if you could help out. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you later. That was a very factual video. I don't do those very often. Maybe I should do them more. Oh, why have I now noticed something in my eyebrow?